Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Will It Crime podcast, where each week one of us picks a random topic to find out if it crimes. Today, I am your host, Chris, and with me is Carter.
Hi.
And today's topic is school bus.
Ooh.
Yep, school bus. All right, so today we are covering the Chowchilla kidnapping.
I haven't heard of that one before.
It was, I want to say, in the 70s.
Ah.
But yeah, so
Well, we'll get more into it.
yeah,
So.
exactly. We'll explain all of that went down. Anyway, the perpetrators, James Schoenfeld, Richard Schoenfeld, and Frederick Woods. All three men are from wealthy families. After the three became friends, they started watching action films such as Dirty Harry and The French Connection. This leading them to discussing perfect crimes and whether or not they could even be done.
Pause. Real quick.
Okay.
James and Richard, they have the same last names. Are they related or are they just...
They are brothers.
Okay. So they're...
So yes, they are related.
Okay. So
these two brothers and Fred, Woods, is his own entity.
yeah. Okay. Just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, absolutely. And early on, they started to think that their parents were disappointed in them for spending their money a little faster than they should. Because, these little rich boys are just spending all the money that they have. And instead of asking their parents for more money or, figuring out how to save and be responsible with their money, they decided to get money on their own.
I mean,
through
if they
their
got a
own
job,
terms.
then it wouldn't
That
be so
would
bad.
Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do. The normal way about acquiring money
I have a
as a young adult.
suspicion that it's not going to be that.
No. No, it's not. So, back to the whole perfect crime thing. These boys thought they were smart and could pull off a perfect crime. And, wanting to acquire their own wealth, the three men started planning the perfect crime. Big quotes there. Big quotes. Where they would hijack a school bus and hold the children for ransom. Because, that's a smart way to earn money instead of getting a freaking job.
I mean, it depends on what kind of school bus. If it's a public school bus, most of those people aren't going to have the money.
I know. It's like, I think it's more of like the state or the government will be like, we want the children back. Let's just pay. I think that was their thought.
Yeah.
Because they also plan to demand $2.5 million. But then decided to demand $5 million instead.
Oh, because that's so much better.
Let's double that. And they wrote down all their plans, including backup plans, that were all discovered in Frederick Woods' father's home.
Oh, that was smart.
Not even their own little hidey hole. Like, let's hide it in Daddy's home.
Well, I mean, they're rich kids, so of course.
They're little rich boys, yeah. And, it shows.
Oh, wait a second. How old are these guys?
I believe they're in their early 20s.
Okay.
So
they're not teenagers.
Between 20 and 24. No, they're not teenagers, but they're not...
They're not fully developed in their frontal lobe.
Adults. No. They're very young adults. We'll go with that.
Right.
On July 15th, 1976. So yeah, 70s. Frederick, Richard, and James put their scheme into motion, stopping their white van in the middle of a lonely rural Avenue 21 in Chowchilla, California, under the pretense that it had broken down. They waited until the school bus came by. The bus was driven by 55-year-old Frank Ed Ray, pulled off to investigate the broken down vehicle. Big air quotes there, too. When the bus door opened, one of the men, his face was covered, so we don't really know who played which
Which
part
one?
in
Yeah.
the whole thing, but, they were all involved.
Right.
One of the men boarded the school bus with a shotgun in hand, and two
Ooh.
other men showed up in a second van.
Oh boy.
Yeah. At this point, Ray and the children were forced off the bus and into the vans. Two of the men took the vans, and the third one took the bus and disposed of it in a dry riverbed hidden by trees, kind of like off to the side, trying to hide it.
Right.
It's hard to hide a bus, though. They're rather large.
I was gonna say, I was like,
Yeah, they're... This whole thing will spell dummies. Just
yeah.
really reinforce our thought of criminals are dumbasses.
Well, yeah, and the fact that they have two vans,
Yes.
but it's a whole bus. Like, the bus can hold a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they were lucky that there was only however many kids on there that could fit in the two buses.
I know. And like they were like larger vans, like your typical creepy white van sort of thing,
Yeah.
sort of situation. So I
bet
feel
none
like
of them were seatbelted.
no, no, it was more of they like blacked it out and like boarded it up, so it was just like a box in the back that they shoved all the kids.
Fun. Okay.
Real comfy, I know. Anyway, after hiding the bus, the
Mhm.
children were then driven around for about 11 hours.
Ew.
My guess is to, I don't know, confuse them, because I don't think it takes 11 hours to drive 100 miles away,
No.
in my opinion.
Jeez.
But they ended up 100 miles away in a quarry in Livermore, California. A quarry that is owned by Frederick Woods' father. Shocker, shocker there.
Okay.
Daddy comes into the picture once again.
Well, I mean, just the fact that they were only 100 miles away
Yeah,
and
it's not that far.
and on something that's connected to them.
Once again, dummies.
So dumb.
These people are not smart. This quote unquote perfect crime is perfect dumbassery. But yeah, in the early morning of July 16th, so, day later, the kidnappers forced the victims into a trailer that the men had buried months prior.
Oh no.
So this has been, like, they've been planning this for a while.
Uh-huh.
And, decided to bury a trailer in a quarry.
That's concerning because God forbid the dirt moves a little bit and there goes the ventilation
know.
port and
And, like, there's pictures of the trailer, and the roof is caved in a bit.
oh no.
It's eerie to look at the pictures. We'll post the pictures on the social media
Yeah.
so that other people can see. But, like, it's spooky looking. Also, it doesn't help that it's in black and white, so it just gives it that little extra air of spookies.
Yeah. I've seen way too many shows where like the person gets buried alive. Ooh.
Ugh,
No.
I hate that so much. It doesn't help that I'm claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And so this is like nightmare fuel. 100% nightmare
It's
fuel.
so funny because this is very reminiscent of an episode of Bones, a TV show that was a long time ago.
I remember Bones.
Oh, you.
I love Bones.
Oh, perfect. I love Bones. It's like my favorite comfort show.
It's been a really long time since I watched it, but yeah, I love Bones.
There was a episode where they get captured by the gravedigger, and
Ooh.
Bones and Hodgins are in a car, buried in a quarry,
No. Oh my gosh, this is like...
and they have to break the way out. And I was like, that.
I wonder if they got inspiration from this case.
It feels like it for sure.
It kind of does, yeah. I feel like a lot of those like crime dramas and stuff have episodes where somebody is buried alive.
Yeah. Ooh. Because that's how you get the fear factor in.
Yeah. Fear and panic and oh, no thank you. But so back to the story. The trailer had mattresses. They had like 14 or so mattresses, a small amount of food and water, as well as ventilation and a pit toilet.
Yeah, that pit toilet's gonna be I hope they didn't plan to have them in there for very long, because, ooh.
I think their plan was to have them in there for like 24 hours. Like, they didn't plan on harming them
Right.
or like keeping them for a ridiculously long period of time.
Yeah.
They just wanted to hold them long enough to get the ransom and then to do whatever, what they wanted with the money.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to.
Yeah. Also, how many kids were on the bus? I forgot to ask.
We'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
We'll go through this and then we'll see how many kids. I want to say it was like 20.
Yeah, that sounds about right for a bus.
Yeah, I think it was like a school trip. It was like their class going on a school trip to like the fairgrounds or something like that.
Oh, man. Okay.
So it was like one class that got taken.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they were on their way to school or something like that.
Right.
It was for a school trip.
Yeah, because, like, if you got a bus going to school, that bus could have up to 30.
A whole lot of children.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh, especially in those days, like, they didn't have seatbelts. They just crammed the children in there.
Yeah, 3 people to a seat? Oof.
Yeah. But, yeah. There was, they had some provisions and stuff, so it wasn't like it was, like, you're gonna go in there to die sort of situation.
Right, yeah.
Not fun, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, it wasn't that bad,
Like,
but it was
fuck
bad.
that. It's still terrible. It's still just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Obviously, people realized that the bus was missing
Right.
pretty early on.
Yeah.
And so by 7:30 p.m., an all points bulletin, this was on the 15th, so same day the bus went missing.
Okay.
All points bulletin was broadcast while numerous people, including the parents of the missing children, initiated widespread search. Sometime after 8 p.m., the school bus was discovered in the drainage slough, covered in bamboo and brush, but with no sign of Ray or the children. So, once again, it's hard to hide a bus.
Right.
Pretty easy to spot.
Yeah. That only took them 30 minutes.
I know, they're like, there it is. I can't imagine they drove it very far from where it was taken.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, it's only just now occurring to me. The bus driver, is he with the children?
Yeah, he's with the children.
Okay,
Got
good.
Taken with the children.
Okay. I was just hoping that they didn't kill him and toss him
No.
somewhere.
Nobody died.
Oh, good. Okay.
This
Spoiler
is
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, nobody died. Which is better than my last case. Where, like, everybody died.
Yeah.
Anywho, after the bus was discovered in the early hours of the 16th, news of Ray and the children's disappearance became nationwide, and reporters flocked to Chowchilla to cover the story. This was a big case in the 70s. Like, when a whole school bus of children disappear, like, a lot of times, if one child is taken or
Right.
disappears, like, that's a big case. Like, a lot of people cover that because, like, children. But when a whole ass bus of them goes missing, everybody's gonna be looking. At the time, memories of the Patty Hearst abduction and the October 1969 threat of the Zodiac Killer, which was also in California, to target a school bus for a massacre were still fresh on people's minds. So this was like trauma on top of trauma.
Right. And the Zodiac Killer was only caught recently.
I believe, or figured out who it was fairly recently, I think due to DNA.
It was the genealogy.
DNA. Yeah. That stuff is so wild.
Yeah.
And so many old cold cases are getting solved because of that, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is all fresh. And then the bus goes missing and everyone's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Because at this point, Zodiac Killer, they didn't know who it was yet.
Right. And he was still technically active around that time.
Yeah.
So it could have been him, is what they're probably thinking.
Yeah, it's like, that is just more nightmare fuel.
Right, yeah.
So, wild time.
Yeah.
After spending about 12 hours or so in the buried trailer, Ray and the kids started stacking the mattresses up under the hole that they came down through. Yeah. So, those mattresses really come in handy. More than for just sleeping.
Yeah.
The whole Unfortunately, it was covered by a heavy manhole cover. Like, those things are really freaking heavy.
Yeah.
And a couple car batteries, which are also really freaking heavy.
Yeah.
And then dirt and debris piled on top. Like,
Well,
they really just piled it on there. Like, those are heavy things.
well, and I can see why the top was caved in a bit, because...
Yeah. Bearing a bunch of shit on top of it, like,
Yeah.
Trailers aren't meant to be buried. They do not have the structural integrity to be buried.
Well, yeah, that, and that all this stuff is piled in on one section of it. If it was, like, over, like, all of it, it might have held up.
Yeah, I think most of it was, like, buried regularly, and then, yeah, all this extra stuff right on the entrance.
Yeah. Oof.
But they used a wooden beam, I think from part of the collapsed ceiling of the trailer. They got a beam off of that and used that as leverage to pry the manhole open.
Oh, good.
So, I guess kudos to the caved-in roof.
Yeah, at least.
You know, some things help out.
Yeah.
And once there was an opening, they sent up one of the smaller boys to see if anybody was around. Finding the coast was clear, Ray helped all the children out of the trailer before finally escaping himself.
Hell yeah.
Freaking absolute hero of a bus driver.
Yeah, oh my god.
Just amazing guy. After everyone was out of the bunker, they walked to the quarry's guard shack where police were notified.
Wait. Okay. I laugh because the guard shack, I assume, had a guard in it.
You would think.
Which means the guard probably saw the guys, like, have these two vans going in and out. At the very least, going in and out.
Well, here's the thing. Frederick's dad owned the quarry, so I think the guards were just used to Frederick and his buddies, like, coming in and out.
Yeah.
And where the trailer was buried, it was, like, in a far corner of the quarry, and this was before the times of, like, CCTV and cameras and stuff like that, so...
Right. Yeah, but, like, how many people go in and out of a quarry?
I don't know. I don't know. It could have also been happening, like, late at night, and so the guards were just, like, I don't know, either not there or just not paying attention that much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, they got back there, buried these children, and then got out of there without the guards noticing.
Oh, so the guards weren't of any help, which is unfortunate. No. Okay.
Kind of useless. Hopefully they got better security afterwards.
I mean, I would hope.
I know.
It's like, oh, please bury your bodies here in my quarry, because I have little to no security, like...
Exactly. The perfect crime, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So after police were notified, they came, picked up the kids, went to, like, one of the closest stations, or I think it was a correctional facility because it was bigger and had more space, and got the kids food and water and took their statements because, you know, of course.
Right.
They were gone for 36 hours before they were finally released back to their parents. So from the time of kidnapping or, like, leaving, go on the field trip, the kidnapping, then finally getting back, they were gone for a total of 36 hours.
They didn't do a good job of kidnapping these kids.
No, and it gets worse. They get dumber. It's really funny. just you wait.
I mean, thank God, but also, like, wow.
Yeah.
Career criminal, they need to pick a different career path. Anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Or, you know, an actual career path.
Yeah.
Not just kidnapping children.
No, yeah. Makes sense.
Where were the kidnappers in all this time? At the time of the hostages' captivity, Frederick, Richard, and James had previously tried to call in their ransom, but without success due to, ironically, the flooding calls from reporters, law enforcement agencies, and tipsters trying to figure out where the missing children are. So because of the missing children, they couldn't call in their ransom. So what did they do? Decided to call back later and fell asleep. They took a nap. When they awoke, later in the evening, they saw television news reports that the victims had freed themselves and were now safe.
Oh, that's
So, these kidnappers, once again, dumbasses. Some of the worst criminals ever. It's like, yeah, let's just take a nap. Oh, wait, where's our kidnapped victims? Oh no, we've lost the children. Oh, God. This was like my favorite part. When I read that, I'm like, oh my God. These dummies.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but if I was in a situation like that, I'd be so stressed out and nervous to even sleep.
Yeah, like, I mean, if I did anything bad, which, of course I wouldn't because I'm perfect, but...
We're perfect little angels over here, yes.
yeah, like, I felt bad even just, when I snapped at that guy and the kid for cutting in front of me for the bathroom, I felt bad about that for at least 4 days.
Oh, I know.
The fact that somebody could kidnap a bunch of children and then just take a nap afterwards, mind-boggling.
I'm like, how secure are you in your confidence that you completed this perfect crime that you're like, I'm just gonna take a nap?
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Especially with the fact that you couldn't call in your ransom because so much media and people were looking for these children, and you're just like, it'll be fine. I'm just gonna take a nap.
Right.
They'll still be there in the morning. They won't. No, they won't. Oh my God, it was so funny. They get dumber though. So why did they decide to kidnap these children? James Schoenfeld later stated that despite coming from wealthy families, both he and Woods were deeply in debt because dummies and not knowing how to deal with just finances in general. Later he quoted, "We needed multiple victims to get multiple millions, and we picked children because children are precious. The state would be willing to pay ransom for them, and they don't fight back. They're vulnerable. They will mine." That last bit, I'm like, ugh.
I hate him.
Yeah, it's gross.
I mean, yeah, the thought process tracks, but...
Yeah, I get the logic behind it, but it's icky, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
The kidnappers intended to use ransom money from the kidnapping to restore the Victorian Rengstorff house in Mountain View, California.
Not to pay off their debts?
No, they wanted to buy a house and make it fancy.
Dumb. Stupid. Okay.
Like I said, they're dumb. Like, oh, we're rich boys, but we're in mountains of debt. Let's buy a giant mansion. That sounds like a great idea. How do we get the money? Let's kidnap children.
God, this is why we need financial education.
We just need life education in schools.
God.
Oh.
And this was in the 70s.
Yep.
Oh
yep.
God. Good to know that we've always been this way. All right.
Oh, no. But yeah, the Rengstorff house was one of the first houses to be built in Mountain View, California. It was built circa 1867. It was about 110 years old at this point. By Henry Rengstorff, a prominent local businessman who operated a ferry between San Francisco and Mountain View. So, Bay Area. Expensive places.
Yeah. I mean, he must have been pretty wealthy to, one, be the first house built there, and two, be operating a ferry.
Oh, yeah.
At that time, when that's the only mode of transportation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. By that point, like, San Francisco was a pretty big area, I feel like.
Yeah.
In 1976, Frederick Woods and James and Richard Schoenfeld launched their plan to preserve the mansion and make it their private residence at the intersection of Middlefield Road and Independence Street. To realize a dream of living in a grand, fully restored and modernized Victorian mansion. Dummies. Needing $60,000 to realize the plan, they hatched the plan, later known as the infamous Chowchilla kidnapping. When all the children and their bus driver were able to escape, they were arrested and sentenced to life in prison, ending this plan for the house. After the house was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1978, Mountain View Mayor Richard Wilmuth wanted to restore it in place. Construction encroached, and in January 1979, a company planning to construct an industrial park on the house's land suggested it be moved north to Shoreline Park. The land was purchased by the city in 1979, and the house was moved. And it was moved again in 1986, further into Shoreline Park to its current location. So luckily it never got demolished or anything like that. It's still up, despite the nefarious background of these dumbasses.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, technically speaking, they didn't acquire it, so it's
correct.
Just
they just wanted to.
An
and
adjacent
now,
thing.
Yeah, it's very adjacent sort of thing. After the major renovation costing about $1 million, funded by the city, the house was opened to the public in 1991. It has since been used as a museum and hosts weddings and miscellaneous events. As of 2023, it is open to the public on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, or online 24/7 via 3D tour. So that's pretty cool. Got a little history lesson.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go see the house.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to go check out. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm down for a 24/7 online tour.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll post a link in the socials.
Yeah.
I pulled up some pictures of the whole thing so you can take a gander, especially at this little caved-in roof over here.
Yeah, that's a wild-looking trailer.
Yeah, like, it's so eerie looking at it. I don't like it.
I was picturing like an RV, which is dumb because like where are they gonna get an RV in the 80s?
I mean, that's fair. So I found out about this case. My mother recommended this case to me because she is now my informant.
Right.
Apparently, even though she doesn't like a lot of crime things, and there's a lot of things she's like, I don't know if I want to listen to that. But also, she's the one who recommends a lot of the cases to me. So there's that.
That's so funny.
But when she had first told me, I thought they buried the bus with the kids still in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to figure out the logistics of how they would pull something like that off.
Right.
They didn't. They buried a trailer, which makes a lot more sense than trying to bury a bus, like, while the children are still in it.
They have a little bit more time to do so.
Exactly. But yeah, it's an eerie picture, needless to say.
Yeah, ooh. And the inside picture? Ooh.
Ugh. Yeah.
Oh god, don't tell me that thing with a hole in it is the toilet.
Yes.
Ooh.
That is a pit toilet.
Ooh.
It's just a hole. No flushing, no plumbing, just a hole. Anyway, I pulled up some articles because apparently I forgot to put the actual trial in.
Oops.
So we're gonna go based off this.
Okay.
So obviously, when they had tried to call in their ransom, they couldn't get through
Right, yeah.
because everybody else was calling in trying to figure out where these children were.
Right.
Meanwhile, the FBI had immediately begun investigating 24-year-old Frederick Newhall Woods IV, hell of a name, the son of Frederick Nickerson, which is also a hell of a name. I don't think I've ever heard the name Nickerson before. I just think of underwear, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, probably because people that had that last name were like, oh no.
Knickers.
We can't keep this.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't like this. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Anyway, immediately pegged Woods and, the family because they are the owners of the quarry. Yeah. I discovered the younger Woods had keys to the quarry, unlimited access. Additionally, Woods' two friends, the Schoenfeld brothers, both 24 and 22, had previously convicted of motor vehicle theft. So,
They had experience relevant to the case.
Yeah, but also experience of getting caught doing it.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. The FBI obtained and executed a search warrant for Hawthorne 78-acre Woods estate in Portola Valley. In the younger Woods room, investigators found journals, a draft of the ransom demand, maps, notes, plans, receipts for the vans in the trailer, false identification, one of the guns used in the kidnapping, and the hamburger wrapper, on which were written the names and ages of each kidnapped child.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Just the fact that they left all of this shit in this place that is immediately connected to where they put everybody.
Yeah, in his bedroom. He put just everything.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, these boys were not smart.
No.
The notes outlined plans to have the ransom money dropped from a plane into the Santa Cruz Mountains at night and retrieve it under cover of darkness.
Stupid.
Also discovered was a rental contract for a storage facility. There, the FBI found the vans used to transport the victims, as well as a getaway vehicle, a Cadillac, spray painted with flat black.
Stupid.
Night camouflage.
Stupid.
Yes. I feel like most criminals try to get rid of all the evidence that leads the authorities right back to them. But they left everything in plain sight.
What?
In the most obvious places. Like, oh my god, they're not smart. So, very easy to figure out who done it. So the FBI issued warrants for the arrest of Woods and the two Schoenfeld brothers 8 days after the kidnapping. Richard Schoenfeld voluntarily surrendered to authorities. 2 weeks later, James Schoenfeld was arrested in Menlo Park. Later, the same day, Woods was arrested by the RCMP in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So he tried to run.
Yeah, he was like, oop, I'm out. Goodbye.
But to no avail, he still got caught. What's up with my last case is a big somehow connected to Canada? Why do I keep connecting things to Canada?
Because everybody wants to run to Canada. It's so funny because it's so close by, but I'm pretty sure they have an extradition treaty with the U.S. because it's so close by.
Oh, probably.
So, like, it's stupid to try and run there.
It probably happens so often. And, like, going from Chowchilla, like, southern central California, going all the way up to Canada, it's like, why?
I mean, I don't think the communication network for things was as global as it is nowadays. So they thought, oh, if I'm in a different country, technically, maybe the information won't go over.
Well, but this case went global.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that, one, it went global, and two, police talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like...
I'm like, this shit went global, of course. You ain't hiding.
Yeah, no, that was dumb.
Not successfully, at least.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to get into the mind of this idiot.
It's hard. It might hurt.
Yeah,
a lot of stupidity in that brain. But all three pleaded guilty to kidnapping for ransom and robbery, but refused to enter a guilty plea to infliction of bodily harm. Which, I mean, I guess.
I get why they didn't, because like they technically didn't want to hurt anybody bodily, but like also y'all did it. So
what about like mentally harming these children?
Well, it wouldn't fall under bodily harm because they do tend to separate that.
But I feel like there should be. Maybe there is now.
Yeah, I mean back then that was probably the best they could do. They were like, this is mental harm and it's part of the body. But nowadays we just separate it because
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. As a conviction on the count in conjunction with the kidnapping charge, carried a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Ooh.
So I think that's kind of why.
More of why
if they did,
plead to that.
Like we don't want that because I think they were paroled. They were tried on the bodily harm charge, found guilty and given the mandatory sentence, but their convictions were overturned by an appeal court, which found that physical injuries sustained by the children, mostly cuts and bruises, did not meet the standard for bodily harm under the law. They were resentenced to life with the possibility of parole, and so Richard Schoenfeld was released in 2012, and James Schoenfeld was paroled on August 7th, 2015.
Well, okay, wait a second. So the bodily harm was a separate charge in conjunction with the kidnapping charge. So
correct.
It was only the bodily harm charge that was overturned.
Yes.
Which is how they got possibility of
paroled.
Okay, interesting. Which is dumb, but okay. Because it doesn't feel like they learned their lesson. They were like, this is easy money.
No. Yeah. In 2016, a workers' compensation lawsuit filed against Woods revealed that he had been running several businesses, including a gold mine and a car dealership, from behind bars without notifying prison authorities.
Stupid.
Yep. The heir to two wealthy California families, the Newhalls and the Woods, he inherited a trust fund from his parents that described in one court filing as being worth $100 million.
Yo.
Disgusting. Equivalent to $127 million in 2023. Although Wood's lawyer disputed that amount. It's still gross that he got trust funds.
That's unfortunately, I think, up to the family, though, to be like, hey, I don't actually want to give you your trust fund anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, in October 2019, Woods was denied parole for the 19th time.
Holy shit.
So, that's cool. Over the years, reasons given for the denials included his continued minimization of the crime. So, kept basically like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Just like, no. You kidnap children. Fuck off.
Right.
As well as disciplinary infractions for possession of contraband, pornography, and cell phones. Like, he kept digging his own grave deeper and deeper.
Yeah, and it's so
throughout his time in prison.
Funny because, like, Richard and James were also involved, but they got less time.
I think they behaved.
Yeah.
And therefore actually got paroled, unlike Woods, who kept going.
Yeah, I think they behaved, and also it sounds like they were more, what is the word?
Like accomplices, not necessarily like the mastermind or whatever.
I think, what is the word for when you're sorry that you did something? Like...
Oh, God.
You know.
My brain is also glitched out.
Yeah, like they...
Apologetic?
I guess apologetic, but like they actually were taking possession
like
of
they
what they did.
Understood their guilt.
Yeah. They actually had guilt, it sounds
like. Yeah, they actually had guilt, unlike Woods over here. He was just like, nah, it wasn't that bad.
Right. And this is all speculation, because obviously we don't know for sure. Exactly. But like, I assume that's probably part of the reason.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway.
But weirdly enough, in the time that Woods was in prison, he married 3 times and purchased a mansion about half an hour away.
What are you purchasing a mansion for, bro? Like...
I guess for one of his wives? I
guess, but like...
Or for when he eventually got out?
Well, it doesn't sound like he's getting out pretty well.
Well, in March 2022, a panel of 2 commissioners recommended Woods for parole. The recommendation required the approval of the full parole board. Governor Gavin Newsom asked the board to reconsider, but the decision was affirmed. On August 17th, 2022, it was reported that Woods' parole had been granted and he was to be released from prison.
Okay, how old would he be then? So he was what?
He was 24 in 1976.
Okay, so that's 46 years plus 24. He's 70. Okay, so I feel a little better about that.
He's an old man now.
He's not as spry as he was to be able to steal a whole ass school bus or anything.
Exactly. But, still dummy. So, in the aftermath of this whole ordeal, Ray received a California School Employees Association citation for outstanding community service. Before he passed away on May 17th in 2012, he was visited by many of the school children he had helped save. In 2015, Chowchilla renamed the Sports and Leisure Park as the Edward Ray Park and declared every February 26th, Ray's birthday, Edward Ray Day.
Oh. I was a little concerned because citations are usually like bad things.
I know.
I was like,
every time I see a citation, I'm like, ugh.
I was about to pick a fight.
Oh, but it's good.
I was like, you motherfuckers better not.
No. They really venerated him, and he's great.
Okay, good.
Yes. He got Edward Ray Day.
Yeah.
I love that. He's great. There was a study found that the kidnapped children suffered from panic attacks, nightmares involving kidnappings, and death and personality changes. Many developed fears of such things as cars, the dark, the wind, the kitchen, mice, dogs, and hippies.
Hippies is a little out there, but we all deal with weirdness in different ways, I guess.
It was a different time back then, so okay. Unfortunately, one kid shot a Japanese tourist with a BB gun when the tourist car broke down in front of his home.
I can understand why that's...
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of trauma involved with this whole thing. Even though, like, nobody was severely harmed or killed, like, there's still a lot of mental trauma, especially for young kids to be kidnapped and buried alive. Like, that's very traumatic.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't even imagine, like, you see somebody broken down on the road, well... I'm paranoid enough to where I wouldn't help anybody on the side of the road regardless of who they were.
Right.
Because it reeks of, I'm gonna get kidnapped, but like...
You never know what could happen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's unfortunate for sure. And many of the children continue to report symptoms of trauma at least 25 years after the kidnapping, including substance abuse and depression, and a number have been in prison for doing something controlling to somebody else.
Interesting.
Probably from their lack of control in that situation.
Right.
The treatment of young victims of trauma has been guided by what was learned about the effects of the Chowchilla kidnapping on the children who were abducted. So a lot of things have changed because of this kidnapping. So that's good. In 2016, the 25 surviving victims settled a lawsuit they had filed against their kidnappers. The money they received was paid out of Frederick Wood's trust fund. So
Hell yeah.
That trust fund came in handy.
Suck that trust fund dry, kiddies.
Yeah. And although the exact settlement amount was not disclosed, one survivor stated that they had each received enough to pay for some serious therapy, but not enough for a house. Man, do I feel that.
So that was in 2016, so...
Yeah, housing was already starting to get stupid expensive then.
Right, yeah, so probably not in the $200,000 range, because that's where the median house was probably about.
Yeah, because my parents bought their house in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 20, or not 20, 230 something.
Yeah.
And like, it's not a super big house. It's, your average house.
Yeah.
So it probably just only went up from there, which, woof.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of things happened. The aftermath was a rough one.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, that concludes the Chowchilla kidnapping. That's, those poor kids. Granted, they are now a lot older than us at this point, but like,
right.
At the time, they were kids,
Yeah.
and therefore poor kids.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad they got some money, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I would prefer that they drained the shit out of his trust fund to where it was zero.
Oh, absolutely. They totally should. They should have drained him dry, made him actually work an actual job. Although I feel like he probably wouldn't.
Well, he wouldn't if he had gotten out earlier anyway, but like,
yeah,
he's 70 years old. There's not many jobs you can do at age 70.
No, unfortunately. But with him, I don't really care.
Yeah. It's so rough because, like, on one hand, we see these people that seemingly had no remorse for what they did going to prison. We're like, yeah, go to prison, woo, stay there for the rest of your life. But also, like, there's no rehabilitation. Like, if we believe that people can change,
yeah,
it's rough to be like, oh, let's stick you in a box for forever.
Yeah, and I feel like there's not as many programs as there should be in the prison system to promote rehabilitation and like work and stuff. Like there definitely a lot more now than there were back then, I think, but
yeah,
it's still, I don't know.
Yeah, it's on one hand, people do horrible shit, but also should they be able to change?
Yeah, I think everybody should have the opportunity for redemption.
Yeah.
But if they don't show signs of that,
yeah,
like,
yeah, like Frederick here,
yeah,
he didn't have any remorse for what he did.
No, he didn't. I think the other two did, but he certainly didn't, and it definitely showed in his sentencing and just how long he was in there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
makes sense.
Needless to say, this was a much more pleasant case than the last one I did.
Yeah, everybody survived. And
everyone survived. It was a happy ending.
It was solved by dumbassery, so...
Yes.
Perfect.
So yeah, that concludes the Chowchilla kidnapping. We will post pictures and links down in the description and on our social media, and tune in next week for Carter's case.
Yeah.
Whatever it shall be.
I'll decide probably the day before, so tune in for that.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye.